Halloween is right around the corner, and as usual, I'm hoping to spend it with some old friends. The Wolfman, Frankenstein, the Invisible Man. They're a fun bunch to hang around with. In fact, you might even say they're a scream. I apologize. Here are 5 enduring things about Universal horror movies. Number 1, the timeless settings. Though some of the best-known films in the series are adaptations of stories published in the 19th century, the setting of many of the horror films produced by Universal Studios in the 1930s and 40s can be difficult to pin down. Characters drive cars and talk on telephones and listen to radios, but they also live in feudal villages and carry torches and also occasionally travel by horse and carriage. The great director of Frankenstein and the Invisible Man, James Whale, first introduced this ambiguous sense of time, and it eventually became one of the hallmarks of the Universal horror series. Now, I can't discuss the hallmarks of the series without also mentioning number 2, the iconic character designs. Close your eyes. Are they closed? Okay, think of Frankenstein. Open your eyes. Are you thinking of that guy? Okay, maybe that's cheating in a video that is specifically about the Universal monsters, but even so, I think I'm fairly safe in saying that most people, when asked to imagine a particular monster, will imagine the Universal version of that monster. They think of Frankenstein with the flat top and the bolts in his neck. They think of Dracula in the tuxedo and the silk-lined cape. The Universal versions of these monsters are the way they appear in our imaginations. And that is a credit to the makeup and the costume design, but it is also, of course, a credit to number 3, the unforgettable performances. One of the reasons we picture Boris Karloff in that makeup when we think of Frankenstein is that Karloff was just so damn good in that role. And while I personally would not use the word good to describe Bela Lugosi as Dracula, it was a very memorable performance nonetheless. And how could any fan forget the pathos and tragedy that Lon Chaney Jr. brings to the role of the Wolfman? Or, there's my favorite performance in all of the Universal horror films, Claude Rains as the Invisible Man, a role where we don't even see his face until the final moments of the film, and yet he is able to command the screen nonetheless. He uses his voice and his body language, and even though we can't see him, we can't take our eyes off of him. Even today, over 80 years after the film premiered. And that's just one example of number 4, the longevity of the franchise. Depending on where you draw the boundaries, the Universal horror franchise began in either the early 1920s or the early 1930s and remained in production until the 1950s. That's 3 or 4 decades and over 80 films. They aren't all classics, to be sure, but they do collectively represent the most prolific and commercially successful horror franchise in the history of American cinema. And in the minds of many critics and fans, the Universal horror movies at their very best include number 5, the definitive interpretations of classic horror stories. Sure, if you're a purist who treasures the original novels of Mary Shelley, Bram Stoker, and H.G. Wells, you might object to the occasionally significant departures taken by the Universal film adaptations of Frankenstein, Dracula, and the Invisible Man. But for most of us, even those of us who love the novels, the ultimate incarnations of those characters are to be found in the Universal horror series. These are the monsters that we know and love. These are the monsters that we grew up with. These are the monsters that we trust to thrill us and make us laugh and entertain us as we watch them prowl fog-shrouded streets, explore dark, crumbling castles, and flee from villagers chasing them through spooky forests where the trees all look like telephone poles. Happy Halloween. The hardest part is picking only 5. Catch you next time. Hey folks, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. And also please consider helping me to make more videos like this one by supporting this channel through Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/Steve Shives to become a patron. Thanks for watching.